A judge ruled today to take the money away from the couple and to account for every single dime that was raised in a GoFundMe account.
They used thousands of it to go on lavish trips, shopping sprees, and to gamble.
Your phone lights up before sunrise. The alert blinks like it's urgent, and when you open it, the headline feels unreal. Breaking news: Carmelo Anthony's family home repossessed. At first, it doesn't make sense. How could one of the most recognizable names in basketball have his family's mansion taken away? But then the details start spilling out, and the truth is darker than anyone expected. That massive gated estate, once a proud symbol of success, is now the center of a high-profile criminal investigation. It's no longer just a beautiful property. It's evidence in a case that has the public divided. The spark for this whole downfall? A ripple effect from a much bigger storm. Carmelo's parents have been indicted for first-degree murder. Years ago, they were praised for raising a young man who would rise to the top of his sport. Today, their names appear on court dockets alongside some of the most serious charges imaginable.
My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what might happen to her. And let me be clear, the claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false.
And now, the walls of their carefully built life are caving in. By the time the morning news shows go live, television vans are already parked outside the neighborhood gates. Helicopters hover overhead, dipping low enough for their cameras to get wide shots of the sprawling property. But this isn't the police making a dramatic arrest. No flashing lights, no sirens. Instead, there's a large red-tagged notice nailed to the front gate. A moving truck idles just out of sight behind some hedges. The air is still, but there's an unmistakable tension. This time, the people showing up aren't detectives, they're from the bank. The nearly $25 million home still had a hefty mortgage, and according to court records, the family had missed several payments. Federal authorities froze their accounts as part of the murder investigation, making it impossible to keep up with the loan. The bank wasted no time.
Wonder now if that will ever happen because of what he allegedly did next on April 2nd. That day, Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf got into a confrontation under the tent. According to witnesses, Metcalf told Anthony to leave the team's tent, and at that point, Anthony allegedly reached into his backpack and said something along the lines of "make me." Here's what Austin's twin brother told WFAA-TV.
Some say they had no choice but to move forward. Others believe this was more than just a financial decision. It was a public message, a symbolic stripping away of status. But who was that lone figure seen earlier? Neighbors report a plain white sedan leaving the garage before sunrise. The lights inside the mansion stayed off, curtains drawn tight. No one knows whether it was Carmelo himself, a relative, or someone sent to grab valuables before the lockout. The whispers spread quickly. Was this home ever truly secure? Was it bought with legitimate earnings? Or was it always sitting on shaky ground, waiting for the right moment to crumble? Online, grainy cell phone clips begin circulating. Across the street, someone films men in plain uniforms climbing the mansion's steps. There's no rush, just a locksmith drilling through the main lock while a repossession officer holds a clipboard. This doesn't look like a typical foreclosure. It feels colder, more calculated. Some reporters on scene claim investigators are already inside, going through financial files left in the home office. Others say movers are boxing up luxury goods that could be seized as part of asset forfeiture. One neighbor shakes their head on live TV. A week ago, there were Christmas lights, cars pulling up every hour. Now, just footsteps and cameras. Property records show the mansion was bought through a family trust. On paper, it looked like a smart, legitimate investment. But leaked banking documents tell another story. The mortgage payments came from accounts now under investigation, accounts flagged for suspicious activity tied to the murder case. It's enough to make people wonder if the house is being taken because it was never truly clean property in the first place. And if they can take the house, what's next? The family's cars, jewelry, college savings? Later that day, Carmelo leaves the courthouse. Dozens of microphones are pointed at him, but he doesn't speak. He keeps his head down, walks straight to a black SUV, and disappears behind tinted glass. That silent walk says more than any press statement could. Everyone watching knows he must have seen the footage of the front door being forced open. Inside the courtroom, prosecutors lay out a revised financial timeline. Large sums of money started moving between accounts just weeks before the alleged murder. Real estate brokers, bank employees, and even a former housekeeper testify about the family's spending habits and how quickly their lifestyle seemed to change. One former financial advisor drops a bombshell. The mortgage was far from paid off, despite the family's image of untouchable wealth. Social media erupts. Some people insist this is a witch hunt. No trial has happened yet, and taking the house feels premature. Others argue the opposite. If you bought a mansion with dirty money, don't be surprised when it's taken away. Even the neighbors are conflicted. One says they always saw black SUVs and strangers coming and going, but assumed it was just the price of fame. Another wonders aloud if this public takedown is less about justice and more about humiliation. Would you have waited until after the trial? Or is it better to act before assets disappear? By the next morning, the story has escalated again. Drone shots show moving trucks lined up along the curb. Inside, workers carefully pack expensive furniture, artwork, and electronics. Hours after the locks were changed, the home appears on a government asset recovery site, complete with floor plans, photos, and auction dates. This wasn't a quick reaction. Authorities had planned this for weeks. In fact, sources claim they were tracking the house's ownership records long before the murder charges became public. A disturbing detail emerges. Security footage from 2 nights before the crime allegedly shows one of Carmelo's parents removing a locked metal case from a walk-in closet. Prosecutors suggest it may have contained the murder weapon. Outside the courthouse, reporters jostle for position. Someone waves a folder claiming it contains wire transfer records for the property's recent renovations. Across the street, neighbors gather behind yellow tape, watching like it's a live event. Inside the empty mansion, investigators move from room to room, not admiring art, but cataloging evidence. A leaked federal affidavit alleges that shell companies linked to the address funneled over $3.3 million in suspicious transactions. The walls weren't just expensive, one investigator is quoted saying, they were lined with fraud. Just when it seems like there's nothing left to reveal, an audio recording surfaces. In it, the family's real estate lawyer is heard whispering nervously before the indictment drops, "Get it out of Carmelo's name." The public's imagination runs wild. If your own parents risked everything you owned to cover up a crime, could you forgive them? Back in court, the judge's voice is barely above a murmur. Repossession approved. And just like that, the mansion, once a shining example of Carmelo Anthony's rise, is no longer his family's. His father's jaw clenches. His mother's shoulders sag. The lawyers stare at the floor. Reporters rush outside, shouting the word foreclosure into live feeds, even though it's not technically correct. But in the public's eyes, the label has already stuck. Slides flash across a courtroom screen. Missed mortgage payments, suspicious wire transfers, financial overlaps with the murder investigation. The prosecutor points out, though not officially as evidence, that the last mortgage payment is alarmingly close in date and amount to the alleged weapon purchase. Coincidence or cover-up? Back at the estate, the gates are open. The perfect lawn is scarred with tire tracks from government vehicles. The repossessed sign stands tall, impossible to ignore. Neighbors murmur as they collect their mail. Happened so fast. Should have seen it coming. The moving trucks return, unmarked and boxy, workers in plain uniforms carrying out couches, TVs, even framed family photos. One worker sets a dusty portrait of the Anthony family face down in the truck bed. Was it on purpose or just a careless motion? Across the street, protesters hold signs reading, "No mansion for murderers" and "Justice for Meta." Passers-by film them for social media. A neighbor leans in and quietly asks, "Do you think they'll take more? Other houses? Bank accounts?" It's a fair question. If more evidence comes out, the family could lose far more than this one property. By dusk, the last moving truck slams its door shut. From an upstairs window, a single light flickers on, even though the house is supposed to be empty. Is someone still inside, clinging to the past? The lawn is ruined, the driveway bare. News vans roll past without stopping. Online comments pour in. Legacy destroyed. Family gone. House gone. Another black SUV pulls up. A man in a suit carrying a tablet approaches the front door like he's done this 100 times. And you can't help but think, when justice comes for someone, does it only take their freedom, or does it erase every trace of the life they built before? If it meant full accountability, would you be willing to lose the home you grew up in? As the last moving truck disappears down the street, the Anthony estate stands stripped of its power, its beauty, and its privacy. The mansion that once symbolized prestige now feels hollow, like an empty stage after the final curtain call. Neighbors linger at their gates, torn between curiosity and discomfort, while reporters pack up, already chasing the next headline. Inside courtrooms and online forums, one question keeps echoing. When justice comes, should it stop at prison walls, or should it erase everything connected to the crime? For Carmelo, the loss isn't just bricks and mortar, it's the unraveling of a legacy built over decades. That single flicker of light in the upstairs window, whether accident or intention, is a haunting reminder that a home can lose its owners, but it never quite lets go of their story. Tonight, the Anthony estate isn't just another repossessed address, it's a cautionary tale written in stone, headlines, and whispers. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Success without solid ground beneath it can vanish overnight. When the gates close for the final time, all that's left is the truth and the silence that follows it.